Well, all right. It is my pleasure to be introducing Dr. Sonja Howell. We're here at Jackson College Central Campus in Jackson, Michigan. She actually is our wonderful instructional designer here. But I'm going to say, Sonja, that I think you are a Renaissance woman. In fact, Dr. Howell recently earned a PhD, has a family, has a successful not-for-profit business, which during COVID actually became a successful for-profit business. But I will let Sonja tell the story. Thank you for talking with our students, Sonja.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for interviewing me.
It's kind of interesting because this is the first interview where you kind of, student I'm speaking to, you kind of know Sonja, but you don't, because she, behind the scenes, is doing a lot to make this course possible. Just this year, we're transitioning full-time to Canvas, and she's been really instrumental in helping that go more seamlessly. So thank you for all of your help here at Jackson College, Sonja. And you have a full-time job here and do that very well. But at the same time, in addition to having, a family, you have been an entrepreneur for several years. So can I just ask you, why did you want to become an entrepreneur?
Well, if I can go back just a little bit in history. So when I first in high school, I'll give you a little timeline that might help out for my story. So I started as a graphic designer at a high school, and I went to the Career Center here in Jackson. Then I came to Jackson College and got my associates as a graphic designer. So then I moved through in, becoming an artist and broadcast. I worked in broadcast for 12 years. So I've done all these different things, but none of them were, I enjoyed them. I can't say I didn't enjoy them, but none of them were purposeful. I always felt like I was doing something to help someone else to make money. So then I started working for a nonprofit. And I really liked nonprofit because it was going for a purpose. And so I'm spending 40 to 60 hours working somebody else's purpose. And then I was like, wait, I need to help with my own purpose. So back in my personal history, I had a high conflict divorce with my parents. Then I had children. Then I had a divorce. Then the purpose became my own.
Yeah.
So I decided to create a parenting program for parents to help them with high conflicts.
Wow.
And there was nothing like that anywhere around, so I decided to create my own company. Then it turned into a nonprofit, and I accept donations for it. But as a lot of people know, a nonprofit organization does not pay the bills. It does not. You don't have enough clients unless you're, a lot of the larger nonprofit organizations, they make money, but they make money to help other little, goals, maybe somebody's goal for their housing bill, or a church is nonprofit. But this is nonprofit. I don't have money off of this, and it's not consistent enough. I did do it for 5 years consistently as my full-time job, and that, we could talk about that in maybe a different...
I'll just insert very briefly, though, because we spoke before we turned on the camera, and I know you're very humble, which I appreciate, but you were generating a lot of revenue from this. This isn't just, I had a good idea. And by the way, as my students, I'm sure you all know, one of the keys for entrepreneurship is finding a bona fide problem. Obviously, Dr. Howell saw that problem in, as she said, with her parents' situation, her own situation, the lack of support in the core system. So she saw a real problem people were suffering with. She came up with a solution, and the government was paying you to run these courses, right? And you were doing quite well.
It is a court-ordered parenting program from the state, but the number of clients was about 24 a year.
At about $3,000 a couple, right?
Yes.
So not bad.
So it's not bad. It's just I'm a single mom, and that income doesn't satisfy my needs, especially as my children got older and older and older.
Sure.
Or for daycare. So that's a whole different subject where it's not a 40-hour job. It's a 60-hour job. 60 hours a week, if not more. So I enjoy it. I love high conflict. Helping them with their high conflict.
Helping resolve a high conflict situation.
And when they come to me with their high conflict, I'm able to be calm. So you have to be able to take on the stress of other people, or not take it on in this case, because I couldn't because I saw the end, where they would be at the end. But I kind of, if you're okay, I'll just keep talking.
Please.
Keep talking.
Yes.
So it kind of morphed when COVID came amongst us, and we got sick. My children and I, we got sick right away. And then by the time that March happened, when everything closed down.
This is 2020, right?
Yes,
This is right at the beginning of COVID.
Right. So once that happened, judges stopped referring.
Mm-hmm.
Social workers stopped referring.
Mm-hmm.
Parents that had the money and wanted to come to the program that weren't in a high conflict court case, but their husband and wife were, or the two spouses were in high conflict, they would pay cash and they would come.
Mm-hmm.
That all came to a standstill that March. Mm-hmm. It was March 13th, I believe.
Of 2020,
yes.
Yeah. Yep.
And so my kids all lost their job during COVID.
Oh, golly.
And so we had to switch. At that time, they weren't going to give unemployment to entrepreneurs. Eventually they did.
Mm-hmm.
But we decided we were just going to switch. We had to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
My children and I, we started cleaning in a sanitizing company.
Clever, yeah.
For corporate. So we were doing 10 to 40,000 square foot buildings, sanitizing. Mm-hmm. And then once that started going away...
But you had some major retailers, you told me. This wasn't just like one or two little...
I can't say because they were confidential,
but they're all companies you guys would recognize with many, many stores, and you got into some pretty big customers.
We saw it coming, we applied for it, we got certified on the sanitizing, and because luckily the government was telling us exactly what had to be sanitized, how it had to be sanitized. I mean, the FCC, it was right there for us. So we got certified, we started sanitizing, and we were out there. We had to, every night, if they did not get sanitized the night, that night that somebody called in saying that they had it, within 2 hours, then they were closed down for the next 3 days.
Wow.
So we had to be there right then.
There again, I just have to applaud you and emphasize to students. She was able to identify a problem in the marketplace, a marketplace which is constantly shifting, get in front of it, find a solution to that problem, and then convince people that her solution was better than the existing alternatives, and got a lot of contracts. So great example.
We really didn't have a lot of competition because I live in Lenawee, and this was the Toledo-Lenawee market, along with Jackson County. So there wasn't a competitor yet.
Zero competitors. You were really in front of it.
Because we saw it. My oldest daughter just purchased a house. Just purchased. Was there for a month. And she could not sit and wait for unemployment. She would have lost...
She had a mortgage, right?
Yeah, she would have lost everything that she just started. Yeah. So we just had to do what we had to do. But as far as... that was an easy gap.
By the way, you've been written up in many magazines based on your parent support business. There you go. This is impressive.
Yes.
This was even before your PhD, which happened, 2 or 3 months ago? You got?
Yes, I got that in November.
Congratulations.
And these were 2017, 2015. So the largest thing that I did was I had to find, as you said, a niche. So my niche was that is high conflict. But I also, I added conflict management, which every parenting class, of course, wants to talk about conflict management. I wanted to talk about coping techniques. And with that coping technique, what I used was arts. I used the arts for coping techniques.
Could you give an example?
I could. Let's see. That right there is... a piece of art that has feeling behind it. It's could be called trauma-informed expressive art therapy. And so not too many people with art therapy go that deep into what it's used for. So I have, in the program, there's about 15 different art therapy techniques that's used to help them have a better understanding of themselves. Now, I'm not a therapist. I'm an instructor. So those parents are they're not taught, but they're given the opportunity to self-reflect what this artwork helps them to understand about themselves. And 2 of the projects they work with their children. Oh. So I'm not trying to figure it out for them. I'm giving them the opportunity to figure it out for themselves.
Good.
Because if I tell them, what they need to do, they're going to argue with me
Sure.
about it. They actually are the best people to know what their family needs. They just need to come back together and realize that, because what the judge is going to give them is going to be a heck of a lot worse than what they can come up with themselves.
And of course, if they have ownership of it, they're much more likely to actually enact it.
Exactly.
Because they believe in it. Yeah.
Right. So, but it's all to prevent cruelty to children, which we can see my bias, of course. I do let them know my bias is the most possible shared parenting schedule that's out there. But they come up with what it is. I don't tell them what to do, but they come up with that. But there's a lot of studies that are done that the state provides, as well as the country provides, as well as a lot of different organizations that want to share information from all of these scholarly articles that parenting or shared parenting is the best for children. But that's I'm not going to go in too much further in that direction. My point being that I provide resources for them to read. They come up with what they learn for themselves, and then the parents talk amongst themselves. Now they can do mediation. So I've had to do a lot of training. I'm a certified mediator. I'm a certified conflict resolution specialist. And so there's a lot of different resources. They have to know what the law is, so I provide what the laws are. And just pull it all together. There's no other resource like this in the state of Michigan that does all of this.
Now I'll just say to the students, hopefully you can see Sonja's passion here. And before we turned on the camera, I said, what are some things that you really want people to take away from this interview? And one was, you have to be flexible, and we've seen that. But I said, what else? And she said, passion. You have to have passion. And of course, if you've had this course with me for more than a few days, you know the importance of passion. But do you want to speak a little bit to that and how this is your passion and why that's so important in whether it's a not-for-profit or a for-profit business, why passion for the cause is so important?
Yeah, definitely. So passion has to be important because, as I had mentioned, that I was a graphic designer, I was an artist, I was, doing all of these tasks for other companies for them to make money and for them to whatever. But I wasn't in love with what their purpose was.
Yeah.
Everybody has a purpose. If you go to, say, I worked at Goodwill, and my reason for working at Goodwill is to learn more about nonprofit and their passion for the region in Lenawee County, and in that area, what they do is provide services for persons with disability.
Okay.
So that's their passion in their region of their goodwill. And this is my passion because this, I believe, changing this aspect would change the social way of how people divorce. But if I did not have this passion, I wouldn't even be doing it. Like my job here at
Jackson College.
At Jackson College, I did work for the LISD. So my job here at Jackson College provides plenty enough income and plenty enough work.
Yeah, I know you're busy.
But this is like something that's more about the way that I feel life could change for parents if they didn't do all of that. And not just the parents, but the kids.
Yeah. And if it's not evident, as I'm sure it is to most people watching this, but I will throw in, and you can speak to this, you have decided to actually not accept money to keep from this, but you kind of started a not-for-profit in terms of a 501c3, almost like a foundation, where if the state will pay for the teaching, you'll keep that in a fund. And can you speak a little to that and what you want to use that money for?
Sure. So as I write here, this publication has been sent out, and any parent can enroll in this. And if it is a court order through the state, then those funds will be set aside to go towards learning more about abuse between ex-partners.
Like research, people who are going to research these situations.
A research, it will be a journal article or it will be a scholarly article, I'm not sure. Depends on the qualifications of the person who will be doing the research. Okay. And I could do the research, but then, that would just be me accepting money for me. So that's kind of not ethical, which is another thing, your business has to be, ethical it has to be ethical, balanced, and I don't know. There's something else like that.
You can't make a profit doing it. It's a 501c3, not for profit. Yeah.
So, but I'm saving the money for starting January 1st for 540 days, because 540 is the hand signification for abuse and neglect. If you're in a situation in public, you could say 540.
I did not know.
Someone will know. Someone will see that they just did 540, and you can do a Google search and realize 540 is for, hey, I need help.
Would you mind showing that on the hand signal? Because I did not know that.
You're supposed to do it really quick.
Okay,
so
you did it quickly, but I kind of missed it.
540, like that.
Okay,
if you see someone doing hand signal, total stranger, someone does 540.
I'm in trouble, kind of.
Yeah, like
I didn't know.
What did they just do?
Wow.
But that's the hand signal for,
Thank you.
I'm in an abusive situation at this very moment. Help me out. And so anyway, I decided for 540 days. Any income that comes in, and of course the 503.
501c3.
501c3 does accept donations, and we do have donors, and we have donors through the major donation areas.
Okay, if you could comment, because I know some of my students want to set up not-for-profit. So Lenawee Now is in Lenawee County.
Now is in Lenawee County, and there's a couple others that I am, like, you can, like, say on your paycheck when you're going to pay, and you can say who you want to donate to. I'm in one of those lists.
Oh, great. With certain employers?
With certain employers, yes. And so they can donate.
And the name of your not-for-profit is?
Actually is Tranquil Studio.
Tranquil Studio.
And then Tranquil Studio Tranquil Parenting is a DBA.
Doing business as.
Yes.
Okay.
For Tranquil Studio.
Okay, but if it were like on a paycheck option, it would be Tranquil Studio.
It would be on Tranquil Studio, or it would be under like Lenawee Now or one of the other larger, accepting from employers.
I see.
Then they would, you would just say Tranquil Parenting.
Great.
And that would be in Hillsdale, Lenawee, and Jackson.
Those 3 counties.
Yes.
Which are the primary counties we serve, although with so much online, I had a student that was doing business in the Philippines last semester, so
exactly.
we could have people from anywhere.
Right.
But
I've had parents in Africa, UK, Washington, and mainly here. Washtenaw County, Detroit. I mean, the judges, I send letters to all of the judges in like any of these areas. North Ohio.
You even go across state, into Ohio.
It's just but I have enough business that I'm not looking for business. I do not solicit. I inform them. Nothing that I write to them is a solicitation. And when I'm informed that a parent is referred to me, I don't reach out to the parent. The parent reaches out to me.
Great.
So I don't know. It's fun, and I do. It has to be purposeful. I would not put this much effort into something that I did not believe was a good service.
Yeah, well, it's really admirable. We're going about 18 minutes. We said we'd go 20, so I'll just leave it open. Is there anything else you'd like to share with students?
Well, I would, because the biggest problem that I find with people being an entrepreneur is competition. You want to compete, you want to compete, you want to compete. Someone will always be that negative Nancy. Someone will always want to compete with you. Someone will always tell you, why are you doing this? Stay in your lane, all of that. None of this is me staying in my lane. None of this, I have lost friends over it.
Really?
Because they think that I'm not an educator because I'm not in K-12. So stay in your lane. You don't know enough. That you're not an artist. Well, I am an artist. Anybody's an artist.
Yeah.
So they all want to compete. They want all the negative Nancys that are saying that's not a real job. Well, I did it for years as a real job. And I'm a single mom. I can't be wishy-washy about my income.
Right.
And I did it until COVID. But you know what I mean?
But then you adapted to COVID and you made money with your second business.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another thing. Entrepreneurs are usually, my study of my PhD shows that people who turn into entrepreneurs are people who have been in high conflict situations, because they are able to, you can't find a job. You can't, it doesn't matter if it's a single dad or a single mom, or if it's a mom who just happens to be single that has children, 50-50 or per se. You have to figure out how to get that kid to school. You have to figure out how to get them off of the school bus if they're younger. And having an 8-to-5 job, And if you can't afford the latchkey, you have to come up with different solutions to make things work.
Yes.
So being flexible and making it purposeful. I know someone who has a sign company that they started off small because their children were young and they had to be flexible. But then now their children are older, so they're bigger. So that's one thing, you can make it bigger or smaller. Right now, this is small because I don't need it. I've got a full-time job.
But I'm really glad you mentioned that because there is a fair amount of research, but I don't hear a lot of people mention that in interviews. My point is not just that as an adult you were through a tough situation, but many people who as children were in really sometimes abusive situations, sometimes they make really good entrepreneurs because, as you well know, as an entrepreneur, sometimes it looks like my whole world is falling apart. I mean, you're running this business, COVID happens, and you've got zero income coming in. And I don't know if it's a conscious thing, but just down deep in you, you just kind of like, I've been in worse situations like this. Like, I don't know if I'm going to eat, or I don't know if somebody's going to like be punching me when they walk in the door. Right. And so it's like, I think we'll get through this. And I, if you've been in that situation, I know it's really, really tough, and I'm not trying to mitigate it. But the point is, certainly not all, but many successful entrepreneurs have been through very tough childhoods. So when the stuff comes, when stuff hits the fan, and it looks like the whole world's falling apart, it's like, okay, I've been here before and I've survived, and this actually isn't quite as bad as me wondering, am I going to lose my life tonight? So resiliency. You build that resiliency, and you don't panic when things don't go according to plan and bad things happen. And obviously, you're the picture of confidence and competence, but you've already shared with us, you've had some tough times from your childhood on into your adulthood, and that's made you a stronger person, a more resilient person.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love every little job that I've tried and tested, and I still feel like I'm at the career center in Jackson. They're testing this career, testing that career.
Fun?
But hey, I'm good. I'm an instructional designer. I don't need to test anymore. I'm good. I'm happy. I like it.
Although another trademark of successful entrepreneurs is they're constantly testing, because the world is constantly changing, and you need to keep testing what's going to work, what's not going to work.
Yeah, and as an instructional designer, when I first started, working, I was a graphic designer. And graphic designers are not as well needed in the same way. They're still needed, but they're not needed in the same way. Now, it's the digital world. Back then, we were pasting on paper.
Right.
And instructional designers, that was like, no one would ever get a PhD in instructional design 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Now it's a PhD.
Yeah. And it's changing so rapidly. Well, we've gone a little over, but wow, so much good information in 22 minutes. Thank you, Dr. Howell. Any other final thought you'd want to pass along?
No, I'll just go on another tangent. But thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Just keep going. If you want to be an entrepreneur, keep going. And, one thing I did want to say that I didn't say was a lot of people say, so do you start being an entrepreneur when you have a full-time job already, or do you stop your full-time job in order to be an entrepreneur? What I say is whatever works for you.
Exactly.
Like I definitely don't see one way better than the other.
Agreed.
I've done it one way and it worked. I did it a different way and it worked. And if it didn't work, then let's go back and do it the other way. You just have to be flexible. Whatever works for you.
Perfect.
You know your budget.
Perfect. Again, thank you so much. Really appreciate you, and Happy New Year. It's early in the year, and hopefully COVID is behind us, and looking forward to an exciting future. But thank you again, Dr. Howell.
Yeah, thank you.